check. 1, 2. We are gathered here today, season 1, episode 16 of Live on Lockdown. I am, as always, your host, Baratunde Thurston, coming to you live from Highland Park, Los Angeles, California. And I want to start this show with something weird. So buckle up for a blast from my past. I cannot get this jingle out of my head, and so I'm going to incept it into yours. You're welcome, and I'm sorry.
Even people who love potato chips are surprised at how good Keebler's Oh Boise's taste.
Oh, Boise's are oh boisterous.
They're bubbly, crackly, roisterous, so full of Idaho potato taste. Oh, Boise's are oh boisterous.
Made by the Keebler Elves, Oh Boise's potato snack chips in original and sour cream and onion. So bubbly, crackly, so Idaho potatoey, you'll say...
Glorious, notorious, delicious, and uproarious. They're Keebler's, oh Boise's, and...
Oh, Boise's are oh boisterous.
And scene. All right, apologies again if that snaps you back to an 80s memory you'd rather not have. But as I mentioned, that was stuck in my head. Also, the song for Tater Skins. Tater Skins got great potato appeal. It's because they're made with potato skins that are real. All right, so welcome back. It is good to see you all here. I'm going to throw on the gallery view and just look at your faces. Give me a wave if you have your camera on. All right, so I know my sound is working, your videos are working, and I'm going to switch this back. So in today's show, I have a few things to share, and I'm eager to hear from some of you what's going on in your world. From my end, I'm going to talk about wearing socks for the first time in weeks. It's been a totally different way of being today. My trip to the grocery store yesterday, which was a bit sad in certain ways. I want to talk about guns. We talk about the great state of Michigan. I had some thoughts on that. I want to share a clip from around the world, which is a really powerful 360 video visiting all these different cities around the world. And as usual, some distractions, some things to help keep us sane. But let me start off with this uh, grocery store situation. So, I have not been leaving the house that much to go be around other humans, trying to abide by my mayor and governor and county commissioner and all kinds of layers of publicly elected or appointed officials to not murder my neighbors. That's generally been my approach. If I could not murder my neighbors, that's kind of what I'm down for. And I'm in a position where clearly I can work from home. This counts as work. Still no revenue, but it's work. And so I went to the grocery store yesterday. This is York Boulevard. And something impressive, they made one entrance, they made one doorway, designated entry, one designated exit just to reduce the amount of cross flow. They have a person standing there, making sure you've got your face covering on, which I really liked. But the things I didn't like, uh, the 6 foot rule was just not being adhered to inside the store. And I found myself just playing like a Frogger with my neighbors, where I'm thinking like we're all trying to be 6 foot bubble boy. And so I'm keeping like head on a swivel. Okay, you're approaching. Cool. I'll defer to you. But nobody else, I mean, almost nobody else. I'd say 80% of the people in the shop were just like, cool, you're looking for paper towels. I'm looking for paper towels too, right next to you. I just happen to be looking, oh, you want vanilla oat milk creamer? Funny, so do I exactly right now. And I definitely can't wait for you to like handle your shit before I jump in and do it at the same time. So basically, I kept being bullied, like non-verbally, where because I'm just thinking, like, I don't want to breathe your air and I don't want to breathe on you either. So it's like defensiveness and respect all resulting in deference. And so I just got non-tactilely shoved around my grocery store by a bunch of other people who were not reading the same news that I was, because if they had, we would have made some eye contact type negotiations. And that felt I was irritated. I was irritated by that. But it was an in and out situation. It was just a few minutes. I've been reading even more and more. It's like extended time is what really creates the hazard. And so this was a 5 minute, maybe 7 minute loop through the shop. Then I'm waiting in line. And in the line, everybody was adhering. At least there, they taped on the floor. And so you had no excuse to not know. So I'm in the line and I actually gave it two spaces. I'm like 12 feet. You know what? 12 feet to make up for all the bullying that I experienced earlier. I'm going 12 feet in the line. And so I get up there and they also don't, um, they strongly discourage to the point of I don't know what they would do if you brought your own bag, but they have a sign at the entrance like, "Don't bring your own bag. We got you. We got these petroleum products called plastic, and we're California, but we don't care anymore right now. We care more about viral transmission than we do about wasting, dinosaur blood." So I accept the plastic bags. I don't even think an environmental thought. I'm just like, cool, man. I'm not trying to cause any more trouble. They're clearly having a difficult time. And I make what I think is friendly banter, sort of meaningless chit chat with the cashier. Hey, how you doing? And when you ask that question, at least in this society, in Western society, English speaking Western society, which is the only place I've fully lived, I'm not expecting real responses. I'm expecting cool. I'm okay. Like we're not really having a conversation here. It's just like a thing you do while we wait for the financial transaction to complete itself. But in this case, my checkout dude was like, I'm doing terrible. And I couldn't not hear that. So, that begets a follow-up. Why do you say that? What's going wrong? And he's like, I hate that I have to be here. And I said, "Well, tell me more about that. Like, what's that about?" I mean, I have 7 items. This is not a long exchange. I'm dragging it out for dramatic purposes for you right now. And he said, We're dropping like flies here, and I'm just waiting until I get sick." And he's there out of economic necessity, right? He cannot afford to stay safer at home. It's economically safer for him to be unsafe at work. And it was just a humbling, real moment away from protests and hashtags. And there's so few moments in crowds with other humans, especially ones I don't really know. And it just snapped me, into a reality that I'm not so much a part of because I'm just here in this room consuming media and making media. But this was a real human story and it was tragic. And so I have more questions about the company that he works for and what everybody had masks. Some people had better masks than others. I think I saw some KN95s, maybe even some 3M N95s, and then a bunch of improvised, Etsy type stuff and bandanas, a lot of bandanas. But it just made me sad because one, I just wasn't prepared for it. I was already feeling annoyed about the interaction, but then the empathy I was forced to feel for him who can't move. He is imprisoned at that cash register, and how many people, does he have to interact with during a presumably 8-hour shift? 100, 200, 300? And that is just a massive amount of exposure. He might as well be in a hospital. He might as well be like an ICU nurse. Um, and he had gloves, and we kept our distance, contactless payment. Yay. But he also didn't seem to have a choice. And he knew it. And he was pissed about it. And he felt bad. And I felt bad in sympathy to his plight. So I just, I share that as a real moment from real life, um, and to encourage all of us to be grateful if we can stay at home. And for those who can't, to at a minimum, extend some empathy to them. And, I'll open this up. We have a chat box here. So please, use that if you have experienced something similar or have some ideas. I'm thinking about asking some follow-up questions with the company he works for. And we didn't have an extended amount of time. Like, what would make you feel safer is kind of what I'm thinking just on the spot right now. Is there anything I can do to be helpful? Uh, I also bring that up because it's a segue to an interview moment. I haven't shared interview clips in this version of the show in a while because honestly, I just took a break off of the interviewing. My hard drive was screaming at me, being like, "Give us free." It was like Amistad up in there, and so I had to liberate some sectors on my hard drive to even be able to do the show. If you were here a week or two ago, I tried to roll some media in, and it was all max headroom on like a dial-up connection. So I've solved it without having to buy a new computer, but it meant I had to slow down on the interview stuff. And this week I was playing catch up. So I had a moment with, keeping it local, my state assembly representative, a woman named Wendy Carrillo, who I knew before she got elected, in a similar way to Gustavo Rivera, who I had on the New York side a few weeks prior to her. So Wendy's in the California State House. The California State Legislature has the highest ratio of constituents to representatives of any legislative body in the US outside of the US Congress. The districts are massive. So each person basically represents like 4 or 500,000 people. Vermont, this is not. And so she covers a huge area of LA, but she lives right here in Highland Park in my neighborhood. So she's covering Boyle Heights and Northeast LA and Eagle Rock and Silver Lake parts of it. And for those who are at all familiar with LA, this is like the cool hip parts that is also meaning like the displaced Latin parts. Um, and so we talked about a lot, how the governor's doing, how she's doing emotionally. But I wanted to share this clip about, she basically describes a scene somewhat like what I just shared to you, but in this case, it's not theoretical; it's like real stuff. So let me see if I can grab it. Hmm. Oh, you know what? All right, let me close that one. That's not gonna be helpful. Okay, Danielle, you go away. Let's try this again. This is why I need a producer. There she is. Okay, buckle up, people. I'm about to press play. It's just a minute. This is a shorter clip. I'm learning.
I would say that that if you are practicing being safe at home, that's amazing. Like flatten the curve. And I think it's okay to be in your feelings about wishing to be outside. It's okay to feel like maybe you're getting a little bit of cabin fever. It's human, it's normal, it's totally okay. But I would also say to perhaps find a moment to shift your narrative and think about and your frame of thought and think about all the people that are working outside and risking their health every day so that you can have delivery at home, so that you can practice being at home. We have farm workers in the state of California and the Central Valley that are risking their lives every day without PPE. And without them, there's no way that we can have the food in the grocery stores. There's no way that you can be enjoying, baking that 10th loaf of bread that you're doing because everybody's baking now. And just to shift and be grateful and be thankful that you don't have to be out there, and to have gratitude towards those workers that are still working every day. That would be, I think, the biggest thing that I would ask, and to be thankful to all of our frontline first responders who are out there every day.
What she said. And it's a point that I haven't heard very much. I'm a prolific consumer, one might say addict of the media. And I see a lot of data. I see a lot of complaining. I see a lot of white men with guns, which we will get to later. Um, but as Wendy said, and as my experience shows, like there is another piece to this story, which is empathy for those who are forced to be on the front lines, who don't have the protection that they need, and their presence allows us to be the responsible citizens we want to feel like we are. That responsibility is borne by somebody, and in a lot of cases, it's a grocery store clerk or delivery person. So that's Wendy Carrillo. You can see more of her clips on my Instagram primarily. I have them on YouTube and Vimeo as well, but I think I'm just going to promote the Zuckerberg property because that's where the traffic is right now. So I'm going to take a pause from sharing stuff and just acknowledge the live studio audience. I've been checking out the chat, and it is really beautiful to see the range. Y'all talking about pool noodles up in here from the Old Boise's commercial. I see we have people in various locations. I see Emeryville, downtown San Francisco, Berkeley. So we got like a Bay Area cluster. So what's up, my Yay area people? Josina's back from Brooklyn. Yo, you're like family now. And so it's good. We might have to check back in with you and see how the brothers on the corner are hanging. Are they still letting their masks hang low? Or are they tightening up those masks? Is that getting a little more appropriate? I see you, Jen, in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Um, and oh, shirt. Somebody's giving a shout out for shirts. Who's got the dope shirt? Is that you? Throw your hands in the air if you were getting some love for the shirt. Okay, I don't know who that's about. Maybe it was from the commercial. I'm playing catch up in the chat room. Um, and I wanted to oh, San Francisco out of Richmond. What is up with the Bay Area? That is very interesting. That is very interesting to have so much Bay Area-ness. And I see other people who are not active in the chat, but I know some of you. So what's good? Michigan, like I said, we're gonna come back to your state in a minute because some of y'all are really wiling the F out. And that's not cool. I see you, DC area. I see you, college buddy. What's up? I see a lot of people. I have no idea who you are. And I see some names I haven't seen in life in a while. So if I know you or if I don't, thank you for being here. I see Eliza shared something in the chat. And so I want to share it with all of you because it's a really, I was playing this while Wendy was doing her thing. This is on the Reddit funny, funny subreddit. The title, Wear Your Mask, the Urine Test. And so this is like a justification, how to explain the value of face coverings to those who don't necessarily understand. Title, Why You Should Wear Face Masks. Let me try and make it simple for you. It's a 3-step explanation. Step 1, if we all run around naked and someone pees on you, you get wet right away. And it's just a really simple visual of like one human urinating on the other. There's no interference. The urine just like straight on the other person's leg. But step 2, if you are wearing pants, some people get through, but not as much. So you are better protected. And then step 3, if the guy who pees is also wearing pants, the pee stays with him and you do not get wet. That is like news you can use. That is an explanation you can understand. That is accessible. You know what I mean? Like that is, as they say in the design world and the political activism world, meeting people where they are. And so I really appreciate that. I don't know how you found this, Eliza, but I thank you for sharing it with the community. And you get an associate producer credit on episode 16 of Live on Lockdown. Yes, give yourself some big up. I see you with the brick wall. Go. I like that. It's got a nice co-working feel. So yeah, thank you for that. And it's nasty. Like what you shared is definitely nasty, but it's clear, and I appreciate the clear communication. And it's a little frustrating in hindsight because in the very beginning, so many of us were told, don't worry about the masks. Like this is just wash your hands and elbow bump. Like the first 2 weeks of this, it was just like wash your hands and elbow bump, and we're gonna crush this thing. And now it's like wrap yourself in saran and never leave your house. It's like totally different level. And part of that is because we're learning, and part of that is because the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention was caught on the back foot, and the president and his administration have politicized the whole thing and made public health a left-right issue, and in the process have led to the deaths of tens of thousands of Americans, and it wasn't necessary and was totally preventable. So like it's a whole host of reasons why we've ended up here. But I think the urine test is a great one to educate all kinds of folks. So thank you so much for that. Let me do another check in the chat room. Martha, who's been here with us many times, says, yeah, but what if you're in Michigan and the pisser is wearing a weapon? That's a good question. That's a good question, Martha. And, I think I'm going to use this as an opportunity to pull up a story that has been rattling around in my mind for the past few days. This is from Bloomberg News. So this is not, lefty central. I wonder, am I sharing what I think I'm sharing? No, I am. That was like a weird share. Let me try that again. Google. Oh, I went and shared the browser that I was already in. I incepted myself. That's amazing. All right, let's go to this window. And are y'all seeing the Michigan story? No, you're seeing the whole damn window. Okay. It's almost like I've reached the end of Zoom, right? Like, like we're asking so much of Zoom, y'all. I got to be real for a minute because Zoom was not meant to do this. Zoom was meant to have uh, emotionless TPS report based corporate conference call meetings where you're half paying attention to a slide presentation from somebody at like a company or a vendor or your boss who you pretend to pay attention to. Like that's all Zoom was supposed to do is just replace like the Polycom. And now we're asking Zoom to raise our children, to educate us, to be the club, right? And the restaurant and the family reunion and to host commencement ceremonies and to be a live video production studio. So it's a bit much. And I just want to just have a moment of acknowledgement that like Zoom, thank you. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we're putting so much weight on you. And I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad that I'm trying to share like a tiny window and you're deciding to share my whole damn desktop with all my text messages and my calendar. I'm definitely not annoyed by that. I am super open hearted and empathetic at the burden. Like you're being asked to carry society right now. And because we don't have a functioning federal government, you're probably being asked to do that too. So, just a moment of appreciation for the people at Zoom for trying to be the glue that keeps our democracy and our media infrastructure together. I'm going to do a different technique uh, to get around what just happened, and I'm gonna handcraft the screen share and literally draw some lines around. That's how much I love y'all. So here's the story I want to share. Headline: Michigan cancels legislative session to avoid armed protesters. This was published May 14th, 2020. And it features a photo of some Punisher looking dude standing in the Capitol Dome in the Michigan Capitol building in Lansing back on April 30th. I won't read the whole story, but I'll share the lead in a few graphs. Michigan closed down its Capitol in Lansing on Thursday and canceled its legislative session rather than face the possibility of an armed protest and death threats against Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer. The gathering, meant to advocate opening the state for business despite the coronavirus pandemic, followed one April 30th that resulted in pictures of protesters clad in military style gear and carrying long guns crowding the state house. They confronted police and taunted lawmakers. All right, so I'm just going to stop right there. You get the idea. So we've seen this scene play out in several states. To my knowledge, this is the first state that has capitulated and canceled the legislative session, at least for a few days, until the men with guns decided they wanted to leave. Um, there's a lot of problems with this. There's a lot I could say about this. And this is happening in the same window of time as Breonna Taylor being murdered in her house by overzealous law enforcement doing a no-knock raid at the wrong location. This is happening in the same time when we have seen the video of Ahmaud Arbery being citizen lynched, arrested, confronted, murdered by the men, the good, the good white men with guns of Brunswick or Brunsville. I can't remember the name of the town in Georgia. And so part of what this story is the reminder of a different set of rules for different people. And it is absurd. And I won't even say it's fun. It's absurd to imagine. And my mind can only do it for like 10 seconds at a time. But what if the people with the guns were long bearded Muslim men? Or what if they were tattooed Latinos? Or what if they were black? And we know it wouldn't happen. Like we know because we see what happens when unarmed black people wear a mask at a Walmart. We see what happens when a little black boy plays with a fake gun at a park in the Midwest. We see what happens when a black woman's in her kitchen at home thinking she's being invaded by unannounced, unbadged, unauthorized law enforcement. So the answer is there. It wouldn't happen because we know we can't do things like that. But this is a further example. It's worse than that. I think it's worse than the hypothetical comparison of what if a different group tried to pull this same stunt. Because to me, this is also revealing the level of capture of our democracy by the extremists. These these gun groups, these people who are demanding, in the case of Michigan, to reopen the state, have succeeded in closing down the government, right? So there's a little irony in that. Oh, okay, reopen Michigan, but now the legislature can't be in session because you're intimidating them. There's also the whole like we don't negotiate with terrorists, but if a white dude with a gun shows up, you're right, we won't negotiate. We'll give them what they want. You can have the state house. It's all yours. And so we have launched wars and invaded other countries at the edge of a gun to force democracy. And then we've given our own away here at home to people who shut down our democracy, literally shutting down the legislative process. It doesn't get more anti small d democratic than that. We've gone to war for things like this, and we can't even defend our homeland in our homeland from thugs with guns like that. There are police, there are National Guard, and these dudes were allowed to literally spit in their faces, probably communicating with respiratory droplets, the coronavirus. So where's the Blue Lives Matter? Where's the respect for national security and the armed forces and law enforcement when there is a direct confrontation by armed thugs with guns? These aren't Mexicans sneaking in across the border. This ain't ISIS trying to come in through Canada. This is homegrown terrorism, and we don't even put up a fight. We literally just let them roam free in the halls of power. So that's a point. But the other thing is that the Republican Party in Michigan are the ones who run the legislature. And they're the ones who said, they have the option to make it illegal to be in the state house with your long guns. There's a law there because we've given so much Second Amendment, really commercial rights to the extremists of the NRA who are totally in cahoots with the gun manufacturers. This ain't about hunting. This ain't about protecting yourself in your home. This is about sales. And it's about unfettered corporate power and a capture of the entire Republican Party. So the Republican Party in Michigan, which runs the legislature and fights with that woman, Gretchen Whitmer, they are the ones who said we'd rather not legislate and confront the yahoos we've helped create than to tell them no. We're going to let these children continue their tantrums rather than parent, because that's how much we've abdicated. And there are times when the gun people, back when there's a Democratic president, the gun people say, oh, they're going to come and take all our guns. So we got to buy more. We got to buy all this ammunition. And they get fueled by the idea of a President Clinton or President Obama. But now they got a gun nut in the White House. They run the legislature. They have so many governorships, and they're not satisfied, even when they're in charge of the Supreme Court and the Senate and the White House and so many state houses. It's not enough. They want total control, or it doesn't count. That's what this is about. When your ideology, when your demands don't change, regardless of who's in power, even when you're getting what you say you ask for, then you want total authority and you're not interested in democracy. And that brings me to what this whole thing, I think, is really all about. The United States of America was never really the democracy it proposed to be. Always an experiment, sometimes striving to be that more perfect union, but mostly failing and occasionally getting better and expanding who has access to voting, who can walk down the street without being kidnapped by a mob and strung up by a tree, who can demand rights for their labor and their safety in an occupational setting. And so we slowly extend that. But in the grand sweep of what this is really all about, which is a multi-ethnic democracy, the idea that different peoples can come together and share power, America's barely tested that. Because in the long history of this country, one group has held power the entire time. And part of the expression we're seeing right now is the fear that they're really going to have to share it. And what we see is in an extraordinary moment where we need to be lockstep together, where we have to defend against a virus, a global pandemic, even in that moment, they're just like, nah, man, not giving up this power. I will literally shut down a state house with a gun rather than let that woman, that Democratic woman, tell me what to do, which means we're not ready, which means we never really lived up to the promise we made with ourselves, with our ancestors, and with the children yet to come to be the multi ethnic democracy. And that's the test that that's what we're going to find out. We're going to find out if we can share power. All this time, it was just cute adjustments around the edges, except for Obama, right? That was like a blip on the radar. And you see how much of his presidency they denied him. Literally took a Supreme Court justice right up from under his feet. So even then, we're going to give you a partial credit presidency. But in the end, we're willing to stand with guns in between you and sharing power with you. And that ain't democracy. That's thuggery. That's authoritarianism. That's something bordering on fascism or oligarchy. It's some other form of government, but it is not democracy. And that's what's at stake right now. We're going to find out, can we be the democracy we promised we could? But these yahoos with these guns in Michigans have made it clear where they stand, and the Republican Party that capitulated fully to them have made it clear that they're not legitimate in terms of governance either. If you can't share power in a democracy, you're not interested in democracy. That's how it works. You've got to be willing to lose and still play the game. You don't get to take your ball with a gun and go home and then hold up the game for everybody else who wants to get on that court. That's some other bullshit. All right, that's what I had to say on that. Let me segue to something a little more fun for a moment, and then I want to talk to y'all and see what's going on in your lives. Freaking yahoos with their freaking long guns, cosplaying Punisher as bullshit. I got no patience.
Don't forget, we have more cases than anybody in the world. But why? Because we do more testing. When you test, you have a case. When you test, you find something is wrong with people. If we didn't do any testing, we would have very few cases. They don't want to write that. It's common sense. So we test much more, many, many times. South Korea, you hear about? I spoke with the president of South Korea, spoke with many different presidents, prime ministers. They can't believe what we've been able to do on testing. They can't believe what we've been able to do on ventilators. We're sending them ventilators. Other countries, Italy, Spain, other countries, France is having tremendous problems. We're helping them with ventilators. Don't forget.
So that was Sarah Cooper. As usual, she's become a favorite of the show for her just direct lip syncing of the President of the United States. But the way she does it, it just exposes the absurdity so much more clearly. So I'm giving a little personal round of applause to Sarah Cooper. You can find her on Twitter, on TikTok. Y'all know how to work the internet, so I'm not going to like instruct you on that. Let's take a minute and process all that stuff I just threw out there. Let me take a glance at the chat because I want to see what I might have been missing. Oh, y'all are sharing photos. Ooh, look at you talking to each other. This is amazing. I love y'all. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's true. The urine thing doesn't really apply to women because y'all don't projectile urine in the same way that men do. So good point. Good point. That is not a gender neutral reference. But symbolically, it still makes sense. And let's see. Ooh, llama visits. Okay, I'm gonna have to look at that after the show. That sounds fun. So yeah, here's something that y'all share. Can I share the link to that article? Yes, I will do that. Let me just drop that in the chat. That is a very solid request. And then I do not wish it on air. Anyone threatening to overthrow the government by force and violence? Don't we have a constitutional protection against that? We should, when people take seriously the oath to protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Yeah. But part of me also believes that like we just have a lot of pretty words. And most of the time those words aren't tested. So we can believe we believe them until a real moment comes. And we're like, yeah, about that though. What happened was I believed in your rights so long as mine came first. Like that's kind of, and I don't think that's just America. I think that's very human. Um, but right now we have dropped the ball so severely given the resources we have, and it's the country I live in. So I'm gonna pick on the relationship I'm in. One of the legislators, Kristen Ninehuis, says one of the legislators had a group of black armed guard take her into session. I saw that, and part of me was really proud because I'm like, yeah, we have Second Amendment rights too, and it's like back to Black Panther days. And then part of me was terrified that that is an escalation, and what happens when you have like your group of armed people versus another group of armed people, both flexing. It just, it's a tinderbox. It's running around with a spark plug and with a bunch of ovens leaking gas, and it's not guaranteed to explode, but the odds of a confrontation of a moment are much higher. And I don't know if that's what needs to happen. I don't. I definitely don't want it to happen. There's so many other ways we have to resolve conflict, but some people seem committed to it. And if you kind of look at how far we've gone, like nobody else does this in terms of the modern, um, highly capitalized Western world. We are very unique. Even Australia, who loves their guns and has a whole hunting thing, like they tell themselves the hunting story too, but they don't, none of this shit happens there. They think we're crazy. And that's a nation founded by felons. You know what I'm saying? Like they are literally jailbreakers and they don't even pretend to have the whole religious freedom like we're more moral than the land we left. They're a bunch of prisoners and they're like, yeah, even we think America's lost their damn minds. So there's a part of me that's like, yeah, maybe we just like have to go through a full cycle on this one, and there has to be some kind of spark and some moment for folks to realize like, oh, we doing that en masse is not a good option. But it's still a game, I think, to a lot of people, and I think there's some who really want that level of confrontation and don't care. Let's see, threatening. Oh, so we talked about that. Eliza asks, how do they get away with it? I think the male genitalia and the white skin is like a key element of the way folks can get away with it. Um, and they're playing, there's a whole, I think the cover provided by I think it's very significant that the Republican Party has as official policy, white guys with guns can do whatever they want. And so we don't have an argument. We have this like one armed fight or this one sided argument where, a two-party system and only one party is trying to check this. Like Republicans in general have been okay. And this is not entirely fair to say, but overall, they've been okay with like mass slaughters in schools, right? Like they've kind of backed that. And so it's become this partisan thing. Like again, public health becomes partisan. We should all be opposed to the slaughter of children at school. But you can't say that before this pandemic. It was like Marco Rubio, who was once like a reasonable kind of conservative guy. I don't agree with any of his policies, but he had like an air of seriousness about him. And even he, after, in his own state, was just like capitulating. So I think that's also a part of it. We can't, it's an imbalanced battle that's going on here. Yeah, Jen asks, are people who are protesting contracting the virus? I need to look that up, and maybe someone has already commented on it or shared an article. It feels impossible to me that you have these non-masks, close proximity events, and 2 to 3 weeks later you don't have a spike. And I also, this is where part of me wants like facial recognition and machine learning to be applied such that when the hospital recognizes your face in the admissions to the ER, it's not that they don't serve, but if they're at capacity, you're just at the bottom of the queue because you made a decision and you got to live with the consequences. You don't get to, you know, rant against and actively endanger the healthcare system and then seek resources from that healthcare system. You don't get to rant against government spending and then demand your Medicaid check. You don't get to rant against science and then use it, right? Like if you are an anti-science person, like don't take a plane and don't use a blender. You know what I'm saying? Like get a sharp stick and make a smoothie by hand in a bucket in your backyard. Like it's got to be all or nothing. So I want a level of consistency for that. And I don't think in this time when resources are precious and we're literally trying to conserve hospital resources, you get to endanger medical staff and then come in and demand their help. Now they will offer it because they've sworn an oath, but it's a shitty thing to do. Yeah, Germany 1933. Look at y'all. I'm not going to read everything. This is a beautiful conversation, though. Thank you for talking amongst yourselves. And then now I got my gallery view up. So if you are interested in me popping into your living room and having a little chat, Siobhan Doherty, we're going to come to you. You are unmuted. Siobhan, tell us
Yeah,
where are you and how are you?
that's so exciting. I'm in Berkeley and I'm doing pretty well. And when the murder hornets showed up, I was so done. They broke me. They broke me. And so I decided that the matriarchy is happening now and I'm going to start it. And I just had one on Mother's Day and I had
Yeah.
one today, but I'm having a feminist breakfast party every
Okay.
Sunday at 10:30 until we have a matriarchy. And it's going to be joyful. It's going to include a lot of like 90s feminist hip hop. And it's going to be like a little PowerPoint presentation and then a conversation like yours, Baratunde. I love this format where you get to actually converse with people
Yeah.
afterwards. It's so important. And you get to have guests and you get to have chatting. Because it needs to be a conversation and it needs to be a conversation and women need to believe that they can be in charge and
Yeah.
men need to learn how to give up power. Your whole thing about like men are scared to give up power. I think that even well-meaning men, or as
Yeah.
I like to call them, women, um, I seriously think that well-meaning men in my
Mhm.
life are still scared to give up power because of course they are, because it's human nature, because you get to make the laws when you have power. You get to do what you want when you have power. Why are you ever going to give that up? And I think the way you give that up is by convincing them that it's going to be better. Like look at New Zealand, look at Lizzo, like look at the way that life could be if you let women be your equal and shine. Like let us steer this ship for a little while. You can sit back, just sit back, you know? Like
That is the best ad for gender equality that I have heard. Like as a man, you
yeah,
sell this as you get to take a break, homie.
take a
You
break,
know, it
buddy.
must be patriarchy must be exhausting. I mean, thousands of years of this. Come on.
Aren't you tired of standing on somebody's neck? Like,
I
get
am.
off it.
Yes, I am, Siobhan.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling really strongly about this. And I'm going to start a Facebook page called Feminist Breakfast Party. It's not
Yes.
started yet, but I'm going to share it. And I want people to join me all over the world. Like, yeah,
So what is your so two questions for you. One is
yeah.
I've put this to the chat. I want song ideas on your theme. You know, what are
Oh,
some
UNITY.
yes, some 1990s feminist hip hop because what
Yeah.
I'm going to do is
Yeah.
I will program one of my IG lives. I've been starting to do musical themes. And so I'll do a live show on this theme this week, maybe multiple, but we should all just be playing these tracks.
Oh
So
my God, I would
UNITY,
love that.
Queen Latifah, that's a great one.
Oh,
Um,
free your mind, free your mind.
Free your mind and the rest will follow. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Hey, no, what's the one? None of your business, Salt and Pepper.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, all of it, all of
Blame it
it.
on the weekend. It's none of
Lizzo,
your
okay,
business.
I'll tell you, Baratunde, before I
Yes.
go, because I don't want to take up too much time in the
Okay.
living room. Lizzo really started this because she had that line, woke up feeling like I just might run for president. And I was like, what would it feel like if women woke up actually feeling like, you know what? I'm ready. I'm doing
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
now. If we really woke up and felt safe enough and held enough and
Yeah.
supported enough to do that, what would the world look like? If women felt safe.
So here's I'm gonna ask you a question, the last question, and I'll set it up like this. So I'm a black person who does all this race stuff, and so I get a lot of white people asking me like, "What can I do to be better?" And sometimes I'm like, "Read a book, Google it." I don't know. And like other times I like, "Here's a list. Step one." So I'm gonna put you in that spot. I'm a man. I
Okay.
want to be useful and helpful. What are some of the things that you want from men,
Yeah.
especially the well-meaning men?
Well-meaning men. Yeah, here's what the well-meaning men can do. And first of all, not to knock them. They're great. Like
Yeah.
being well-meaning is a step up for sure. But I think that a lot of women don't have conversations with well-meaning men in their lives because they think they're going to be stepping on their toes. Like your friend who's a dude says something and it rubs you the wrong way, but you just kind of zip your lips because you don't want to have a confrontation with them. I think that women need to speak up more because some of those well-meaning men want to hear it. And I think that well-meaning men need to make space for that. They need to say, ooh, did I just cross a line? Or say like, or just ask out of the blue. Like what's, just like make space for those conversations, because I think that those conversations start at home and with your close friends. Yeah. And with your doctor, with your, just they start in the local. So make room.
Make room.
Make room and convince other men that it's going to be the shit.
Yes, because we could kick back, lay back, kick it, and enjoy the ride. Siobhan Berkeley, thank you for popping in and letting me pop into your living room. Thanks for those lessons. I look forward to hearing about your feminist breakfast series, and to seeing what songs people have put in, which I will throw in my IG live show. Stay well. That's in order.
Okay, for sure.
All right, peace. That was Siobhan Doherty in Berkeley, California, coming in hot. That was great. That was great. She's like, I'm having feminist breakfast until the matriarchy is a thing. I love this. You made a public commitment, so we're gonna hold you to that. And I want to know what's on the menu. Anybody else want to jump in with me? Do I see a hand? I see. Okay, so we got Eliza and we got Josina. Let me go to Eliza. Eliza shared that wonderful urine link. Eliza, tell us where you are and tell us how you are.
Hey, everybody. I'm in Emeryville, which is next to Berkeley, which is across the way from San Francisco, which is basically Oakland, and Berkeley. But I just wanted to give a quick shout. Baratunde, thank you. I've been sending you love letters like forever. I just think you're awesome. And I wanted to give a quick shout out to my friend, Amy Allison, actually, and this is along your line, Siobhan. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. But she started She the People, which sole purpose is to elevate people of color, women of color, to government. And she has been rocking it. So check it out. And she's in Oakland. And
great. 1 million women of color, one political home. I just pulled up the website right now, shethepeople.com. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
And Siobhan, I want to be invited to the Sunday brunches.
Yeah. And I assume that is like a Zoomy thing.
Oh, right. That's right. I totally like, oh yeah, no, I'll bring the bacon. No.
Well, thank you. We have a Bay Area Mafia taking over my show this Sunday. And Eliza, thank you for sharing two dope links. I will check out and read more details on shethepeople.org. I mispronounced the domain name, not the .com. shethepeople.org. Let's share this power, and hope you continue to have a great Sunday. Thank you for the love letters. All love letters do get screened by my fiance because she will find you and cut you, but in these socially distant times, she'll probably just like virtually cut you. have a great day. Eliza, thank you. And I'm going to go to Flatbush, Brooklyn. Josina, welcome back. Good to have you. Can you give us an update on the Thug Cats, on the Brothers on the Corner, and what else is going on in your world?
Thug Cats have disappeared. They've been replaced by their like gun moll, some little girl cat who has an apartment underneath my ornamental grasses. She is living her life, her absolute best life. All right. And the dudes on the corner have multiplied. They have gotten more brazen. Whoa. And they have been joined by some merry gentrifiers who do not give a blank about wearing a mask. It is like a farmer's market every day up and down Flatbush Avenue, and nobody is masked.
Now, are these two groups interacting?
No, they pass like traffic on the Hudson, but they do not mix.
And how are you? What's going on in what's going on in your world outside of, you know, the field reports you just provided from the backyard and the street?
I am amazing because my company got a PPP loan approved this week. It's unexpected and so good. For any like small business freelancers out there, Freelancers Hub hooked a sister up. It was so nice to have that happen.
I am
they
so
really helped us out.
happy to hear that. How many people are on your team?
We have 4. So this is going to allow us to sort of catch them up for April, pay May, and, you know, get people like some money.
And what as I recall, you worked with architects, but can you just share with us what your business is again? Because I don't fully remember.
Yeah. So this weird little quirk about architecture offices and designers in architecture offices is that they have to have samples of stuff on hand to put together these project palettes to show clients. Okay. And that means you got to have like tile and carpet and fabric and wood, but nobody wants to be the housekeeper for all those samples. So if you're a big name architect, you hire somebody in-house to take care of all that crap for you and keep it neat and up to date. But with the downturn in 2008, most companies let those people go and then they never rehired them. And my husband was one of those people. He was they call them resource librarians, and he did that as his full-time job. He got let go, and he's like, well, I can contract out my services to companies that can't afford to have a full-time person. So he created a company where you hire him and his employees, and we come in and we keep your stuff. Right. And we make sure you know the right people and you have the right stuff.
I love that. We keep your stuff as a business model. That's a great business model. I am so relieved. There are so few people I know who have been able to navigate the PPP maze. Did you apply through like a major commercial bank, or did you go through a non-bank lending institution? Like, how'd you get this money?
No, we went through a major commercial bank, and they were jokers about it. Right. I'm not trying to throw out any names, but Capital One can bite me. So, and we went through Freelancers Hub, which hooked us up with a much smaller regional bank that was prepared. Yeah. And they were really great about like asking the right questions in a timely manner, getting everything sorted out. And it took less than 5 days for that all to work out.
Well, that's an argument for small, for something a bit more local. I am so happy to hear that the business We Keep Your Stuff is going to have a better shot at making it through this really tough time. So thank you for updating us. Thanks for being such a great part of this show. And there's
one more thing.
Yeah,
I found Illusion. I have my copy of Illusions. Yay!
All right, I'll explain that on the other side. Thank you so much, Josina from Flatbush, Brooklyn. She's holding up a book, Illusions, The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah by Richard Bach. That is a book that I was interviewed about for the Book Smart podcast that Inc. magazine produces, where they talk with entrepreneurs about one book that helped shaped their worldview or the way they approach business. And that was the book I chose, in part because I knew nobody else would pick it, because it's not a business book. It's more of a life book. And it was handed to me by a fellow student my freshman year of college. And I have read it semi-regularly over the past 20 years. So I'm so glad you got that. Maybe next week you can tell us what you think. It's such a quick read. So we are coming close to the end. I will do one more pass through gallery view. If anybody else wants to do a check-in, throw your hands up, but never, ever any pressure. Going once, going twice. I feel like an auctioneer. Kristen B. Ninehuis, we are coming to you, and I'm going to learn how to say your name. All right, Kristen, where you at? How you at? And say your name for us.
So it's Nienhuis.
Nienhuis. All right.
And not for nothing, my handle is Dutch as hell, not Dutch a shell.
So
The
that's
only
like
other
a
person who says Dutch shell is my mom, who believes I don't swear.
that's adorable. Well, that's how innocent I am as well, Kristen. So where are you?
I'm in downtown San Francisco.
You, what is up with this Bay Area dominance? This is amazing. Then I got a question for you. Then,
Yes.
what is it like outside? Because I think downtown LA has definitely taken a turn. You know, in terms of the upkeep, in terms of the level of like open suffering of people without homes. And so I'm imagining that downtown San Francisco is going through something similar. But you're there. What do you see?
Um, I mean this with no love. The tech bros will not wear masks.
Mm,
And the homeless camp or the homeless camps are fluctuating between being more full than I've ever seen them before and having more people drive through and offer protection. So it's sort of like a mix. But there's not a whole lot of trust between those communities. So yeah.
yeah. And what else is going on for you? What's you raised your hand. Is there something you wanted to share or say?
I was going to say that I was really, really impressed. I went to Trader Joe's for the first time 6 weeks. And I was really impressed with how they were trying to set things up. But like you witnessed a lot of folks just being like, oh, cream cheese. I also need cream cheese. And they would just like swoop in on you. And there was a delightful, they had 2 lines, one for folks who were elderly and one that weren't. And they were
Oh,
oscillating
that's
between
that's segregation I can support. I like that.
fair. But I was really, really sad because people were crowding on this adorable couple. And at one point, the woman got separated from her husband with a one-way directional thing. I don't know exactly how that happened.
Yeah.
But she was sort of floundering and I was trying to give space to allow the 6 feet. And like all these people just sort of crowded around this poor woman, not to help her, but like, yeah. So that was frustrating. I will say the people who were working there, like, were definitely tired.
Yeah.
But we're super appreciative to anyone who was giving them like the minimum amount of respect. So yeah, I was impressed with how a corporation like that was dealing with this.
Yeah. Well, I've heard good things about Trader Joe's, and so I'm glad it's not just hype. I'm sorry that their customers are not necessarily living up to the same standard. It's like it's to be disrespectful of space around an elder right now when we know that anywhere from 30 to 60% of the deaths, at least in this country, are people, not just old, like people in nursing homes in particular, is just a level of disrespect I cannot understand.
Yeah.
Um, and now I want to check back in with you another time on the tech bro thing. That I feel like this is their, I don't get that. Like they have money, they could order weird stuff off of Etsy. Like, what's the excuse there?
Yeah. It's a great question.
All right. Well, thank you for being Dutch as hell. I cannot believe I didn't understand that from before. And that was Kristen in also the Bay Area, downtown San Francisco, reporting on the Tech Bros and Trader Joe's. I also wanted to share an idea that will help solve a piece of this. Here's a story I remember seeing. It went kind of popular. This is a man who took extreme measures to stay away from others as his country's death toll, and he just wore a giant circular donut table suspended from his shoulders to actually prevent anybody. This is at a market, Testaccio in Roma, Italy. And I think that is a brilliant ass idea. That's a BAI, a brilliant ass idea. And yo, look, we are at the hour. My goodness, the show has come to a near close. I want to check my little docket and see if there's anything else I really wanted to share. I didn't, I teased this whole thing about wearing socks. Here's what happened with the socks. I've been doing mad housework, y'all. Like I'm becoming that dude. I've got, the pants with the big pockets. I bought a toolbox. I got a proper, not just an old piece of luggage, like an actual toolbox with the attachment that clips in on top. with a little compartment for your nails and a little compartment for the washers or whatever else you want to separate. So I got all this stuff going on, and I was about to do, we're having an infestation of uninvited roommates, spiders in this case. Every week it's something different. Is it skunks? Is it possums? This is spider week, and I can't have it, and my woman can't have it, and so I got to do something. I got to defend my homeland. So I'm going out laying down a perimeter, but I had to put socks on because I didn't want that stuff getting on my body. It's not really toxic, but I still didn't trust it. So for the first time in about 7 weeks, I realized I forgot what socks feel like, and the verdict is in. They feel pretty nice. They feel pretty nice. They reduce chafing. I got some nice athletic socks. I have a nice wicking function on them. So this show brought to you by socks. Don't forget about us. You know, that's uh, that's the message for this week. I'm Baratunde Thurston. This is Sunday, the 17th of May, 2020. This is officially 2 months into Live on Lockdown. I did the first show literally on March 15th. So we're at May 17th. So we're kind of 8 weeks into this thing, 16 episodes. It's been a great ride. It's going to get greater. And I'll tease something for y'all, exclusive knowledge. So we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of my TED Talk, How to Deconstruct Racism One Headline at a Time. And I'm going to do something special with it. It is the core of that talk is about this phenomenon of white people calling the cops on black people. And with what's happened with Brianna and Ahmaud, the stories are back in the headlines. And so is all the anger and inspiration that fueled that talk to begin with. So I'm going to put the full talk on my Instagram tomorrow, uncut with a bonus round that a lot of people never got to see. After the talk, I was asked to stay on stage and answer a question. So it's like another 2 minutes on the back end. And TED didn't put it on the main site because I was already pushing the time limits of the TED algorithm. So I'll share that full thing in one like 20-minute thing. And then Thursday this week, I am going to do a live stream of the talk with a conversation after, sort of a TED Talk back. And I'm still figuring out what platform to do it on, maybe Zoom, but I might give Zoom a break. I might try a different platform, especially because I don't know if Zoom could handle me running a 20-minute video into the room. Even playing a clip today, things started to get a little choppy on Sarah Cooper's clip, and that was just over a minute. So I'll experiment with that, but I'll have it sorted by Thursday, and that'll be a ticketed event, not for money, just for preventing the Zoom bombers and me having a better relationship with y'all. Until then, if you are not on my text message joint, consider that 202-894-8844. Just shoot a message there. Oops, I just sent that as a private message when I meant to send it to everybody. Sorry about that specific person who I private messaged that I didn't mean to. See, again, putting a lot of pressure on Zoom. So again, the sponsors of this show unofficially, Socks and Zoom, saving democracy, helping the world go around, and transitioning that sweat away from the skin, wicking for freedom. I'm Baratunde Thurston. This is the end of episode 16, season 1, live on lockdown. I'll see y'all on IG sometime this week when I start rocking my 1990s feminist music playlist. Yeah. And before I fully close, there are other questions. Okay, this is me. Siobhan is, she's making it rain. Siobhan, you want me to strip? No, don't strip. That's good because that one, catching up on the chat. Patreon. Yay, I do have a okay, here's what I'm going to unmute Siobhan because I'm trying to do the sign language thing. Just speak unto the people, Siobhan.
We want to give you money?
Oh, that is so sweet.
How do we give you money?
That is amazing. I'm giving all these shout outs. I am going to put the link, https://
We want to help you dismantle the system.
Okay. Boom. That is a great.
We also want to get you a producer.
Yes. So you know what? We're in like the after show right now. But it'll just take a minute. I have plans, people. And this show is wasn't planned. This was a very inspired thing to just start doing. But it is something that is morphing into a thing that's a bit more. And I have definitely found the limits of one person showmanship. And so it's cool to be able to play all the positions, but like this is definitely a team sport. So I've got job descriptions, I've got some more equipment I want to be able to get. And yes, I have a Patreon. It's just patreon.com/Baratunde. I just updated it last week. Um, and you can come in at whatever level, $5 up to 500. Somebody's got it. I'll take it if you're rolling that rich. But I put a lot of like extra long cut stuff in there. And I realized through the Patreon thing, most people don't want extra shit. It's not really about that, just about supporting the thing. So thank you so much for asking. So that gives me an ability to say, like, here's a way to help make this happen. Because there's definitely costs to all the software and to the humans. I'm going to need, there's some branding updates, there's some titles and lower thirds and After Effects and motion graphicsy things. And there's a producer that I'm going to need to help run this, which may lead to this not necessarily even happening in Zoom. So I'm going to start playing around with a few other things, or at least having one show stay out of the Zoom world and another have this live studio audience. So yeah, that was a really great question. I appreciate you asking. Um, and yeah, I really also appreciate the visual. I was like, you want me to shake my moneymaker? What's that seems like an inappropriate request for a feminist. Is that what the matriarchy means? Yeah. Now I see what's going down at your brunches. Okay. I'm gonna let y'all get back to your day so I can get back to mine. We'll see you next week and sometime in between. Stay well, stay empathetic. We're gonna get through this. And much love. Peace.